So I'm going to be honest here. Doing these videos is not really my thing. All right. I do them just because in terms of getting the information out there. Having said that, these next two videos will probably be my favorite that I am talking about because this week it's in terms of doesn't my blank know about this already? And we already spoke in terms of your CPA has no idea in terms of what this is because that's not their focus. Their focus is to try and minimize the taxes you have to pay to the government. They don't look really at cash flow. And some people are tax strategists, at least looking forward. But again, they're looking in terms of how to minimize taxes, which does keep more money in your pocket, which is a kind of cash flow, but it's not a day-to-day operations. Today's video Today's video is about, doesn't my financial advisor know about this strategy? And I'll just tell you right now, the answer is absolutely not. Okay. They don't know about this for a very, very simple reason. Just because they free up money for you, that is not how they get paid. The overwhelming majority of financial advisors, and I'm not poo-pooing the industry, I'm just saying in terms of for them to be able to eat, they are compensated on something called assets under management. What is the money that you have left over that you can now invest with that advisor, and that advisor gets a percentage of the assets under management? That's their compensation. So if they help you free up $4,000 a month, their immediate thought is not thinking in terms of, oh, now you have 4,000 to invest with me. Great, you freed up 4,000 a month. My compensation to help you with that is zero because they don't see the bigger picture. And so I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint slide here and just kind of go through in terms of where this all comes from. Okay. And again, it has to do with, I don't want to say it's conflict of interest. It's just that in terms of the way that advisors are incentivized, they're not looking from this strategic point of view. The best way I've ever heard a financial plan discussed is a podcast called Radical Personal Finance. Joshua Sheets, he's very verbose, way too verbose, actually. Okay. But when he explained this, it was so simple and so beautiful that I was like, oh my God, this is the way that I have to share this. Okay. So the 5 points of a plan. Number one, maximize your income. Two, minimize expenses. Three, invest the difference. Number four, protect the investment. And number five is optimize lifestyle. And now let's kind of break this down here. In terms of maximizing income, that's on you. You get to determine in terms of how hard you work, how hard you grind, what industry do you work in? And dependent upon the industry, you may have greater chances of financial success in terms of compensation that you are maximizing your productivity per dollar per hour. And then when you have money left over, we go to an advisor, which is step number three. And we completely jump over step number two. Yeah, we don't want to step in number two, okay? But we completely jump over this whole idea of minimizing expenses because no one's really been able to figure out how to do this effectively. And then more importantly is like, if I'm able to help someone, like, how do I value this? And so advisors don't even talk about it. Just jump to, hey, how much money you got left over? Let's start putting it to work. Let's put it over in this pile because I start to get compensated on it. But if we can figure out how to minimize expenses, living the same lifestyle, that's the whole key. When I bring this up to people, I'm not asking you to eat ramen noodles for the rest of your life, or ramen noodles day one and rice and beans day two and just keep switching. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to number five, optimize lifestyle. However you decide to live, just do it in a more cost-effective way. And that's where financially led comes in, is rearranging those expenses. And the larger expenses are the ones that usually are attached to debt. And so the other way I like to explain this is that using the quote from Bear Bryant, the former Alabama football head coach, offense sells tickets, but defense wins championships. So again, I'm not here to fight with a financial advisor. I don't tell people where to invest. And so if you don't know where to go, a financial advisor can be a great option. But they are going to investing. They are looking in terms of playing offense with the money that you have left over and trying to grow that number over time. That's offense selling tickets. It's an easier number to see. Number gets bigger. Great. Defense wins championships. How do you play defense in the financial world? Is by minimizing the amount from these fixed debt payments in your life and how to get rid of them faster so that you do have more money left over each month. Because if a financial advisor actually worked with me, they're the offensive coordinator, I'm the defensive coordinator, and that's how you win the game of finance. And here's an example. This is, whoops. This is one of my clients. Before we started working together, their budget was over $16,000 a month. The gray box is lifestyle. This is what they spend on in terms of gas in the car, going out for dinner, going to the movies. That's their lifestyle. But look at this, the other three boxes, their mortgage, the student loans, and a car payment. Nearly $10,000 a month was associated with fixed debt payments. 10,000 was already accounted for. And yet by doing cash flow coaching, being financially led, we were able to rearrange those debts down from 10,000 down to $3,300 a month. And so we're living the same lifestyle. It's just costing us less. In this example, to the tune of $6,300 a month or $75,000 a year is now freed up. And that's the three-part part of the plan. Number one, lift the burden from fixed debt payments. Do you think you'd have a lot more flexibility if now $6,300 a month of your budget was now freed up? Yeah. Step number two, expand your cash reserves. In this case, we were able to 4x their cash reserves, which I'm calling here the emergency fund because that's kind of a way that you can think about this. Now that you have freed up the money each month, now that you have this emergency fund that is now 4 times larger in this example, do you think it's now going to be easier to be able to put more money towards investing for your future? Absolutely. And do you think that if your financial advisor was the person that told you in terms of, hey, Let's work with financially led because I can help in terms of playing offense. They're going to play defense. They're going to free up the money. And where are you going to invest the money if they're the ones who suggested it? Back with the financial advisor. That's what I have tried to explain to them, and they just don't get it. They just don't get it because I'm not competing with them. They think I am, but I'm not because I don't choose investments for people. I get them set up so that they can now invest and not feel constrained in terms of trying to get the money. In this case, the money's right there. It is freed up. There is a lot of it. And so that's part one of this. Here's the other part in terms of why looking at expenses and trying to optimize for this is so critical. If I can get to the next slide. Here we go. Okay. At least when I grew up, there was a commercial from one of the financial companies in terms of, hey, what's your number? And they were referring in terms of what is the number, what is the amount that you need in order to retire, to live the same lifestyle once you get to retirement. And the way that this is calculated is 25 times your annual expenses. Now, I had to, because interest rates were so low for so long, and now that we've got inflation still a little bit ticked up, instead of multiplying that by 25, we should multiply that number by 30. Okay. And so let's continue with my client and the example here and see what the results occur on why this is so important in terms of looking at your overall expenses and how to be more efficient with this. Because if you want results like this, type results in the comments and I'll make sure to reach out to you and get you the next set of information so you can understand this better. So their monthly expenses beforehand was $16,400. And in terms of what I call annual expenses, think of this kind of like your travel budget. All right. They had it around 10 grand. Okay. So when you multiply the monthly expenses by 12 and add in the annual expenses, their budget was around $200,000 per year to live the same lifestyle with investable assets, AKA exclude your house. They needed the number to be around $6 million. Okay. Again, in terms of liquid assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, cash, something that they could convert into cash rather easily. They needed $6 million. But now look at this in terms of rearranging the expenses. Their monthly expenses, we already know, it went down to $10,000 a month. Some of the reason why that monthly expenses went down is because I'll give two obvious examples. Number one is escrow. I hate escrow. Hate it. You are putting money aside in a 0% interest account to eventually pay something. I would rather hold on to that money, manipulate the balance of the debt for my advantage, and then pay this at the last minute. So escrow is one example of shifting that from a monthly expense to an annual expense. Another example can be life insurance. Insurance companies will give you a discount paying your premium annually. This does not matter if it's term insurance or permanent, but if you look at the number, it can be anywhere from 8 to 12% more to pay your premium on a monthly basis versus paying it annually. So those are the types of shifts. So 15,000, we switched to annual from the monthly budget. But now look at this. The annual budget goes from $200,000 a year now down to 145. And now we multiply that number by 30. We now need $4.35 million to live the same lifestyle when we thought we needed 6 million. This just got that family $1.6 million closer to retirement. I don't know any investment that will get you $1.6 million unless you put $1.5 million in, which obviously they did not have. They didn't have $1.5 million lying around. But because we were looking at how do we optimize the expenses, they are now $1.65 million closer to their freedom number. I can't say that I will get you $1.6 million closer if you're watching this. But any result is going to be better than how you're doing things right now. And so if you want to see what the results are for you, type results in the comments, because your financial advisor is just not going to understand how to do this for you. Plain and simple. But I'd love to be able to work with them. I want to find financial advisors that can think collaboratively and realize I am not competition with them. If anything, I help enhance the results they are getting for you. Told you this was going to be my favorite video. And Fridays is going to be just as fun. I'll see you then.